Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Murino Ravenberg here again. This video is going to be, as the header states, on moon phases within the occult, or the occult significance or definition of moon phases. As usual, you can find the link to the article and other potential links in the description below. So yeah, let's begin. I also need to start off similar to what I state in the article, that the moon isn't really that important. In any case, not compared to other planets in terms of severity or importance or potency when it comes to the occult. Primarily lesser, quote unquote, lesser forms of magic compared to what I practice, Western ceremonial magic, make use of moon phases. So from an advanced person's perspective, or from an advanced ceremonial magician's perspective, it is a lower to intermediate technique. In any case, people that generally speaking practice paganistic culture, paganistic forms of magic, so witchcraft, Wicca, you name it, folk magic in general, anything that has a paganistic or druid-like vibe, or specifically magical systems in which people work with elemental spirits primarily and naturistic influences. Most of those magical systems, as well as their followers, attach a strong significance to the moon, and they primarily work with the moon and its phases. To summarize, or in essence, and to put an unnecessarily long story short, to keep an unnecessarily long story short, how it works is as follows, okay? You've got the waxing moon and then waning moon. Waxing moon is when the moon goes from being a crescent, so barely visible, to being completely visible. So from barely any moon, so from a crescent moon to a full moon, that's waxing. Waning is the exact opposite. So waxing, in a term, as a synonym, it could be called upcoming moon. So when you're saying that the moon is upcoming, it means that the moon is more visible. It becomes more visible over a week or 2 weeks' time. Just as an example. That's called waxing. Waning is the exact opposite. It's when the moon is full and it slowly decreases to a crescent, or to the point where it's barely visible. That process is called waning moon, or decreasing moon, if you will, instead of upcoming. And these moon phases or lunar phases are used by the magical systems, or by people that practice magical systems, in the way I outlined, okay? For example, someone that practices Wicca will keep an eye on moon phases and will wait, generally speaking, until it's full moon, or until the moon has an exceptional placement, but generally speaking, on a frequential basis, on a cyclic basis, so a regulatory basis, it's full moon. They'll simply wait until the moon is full in order to perform a ritual, because then, according to them and the system that they practice, the magical system that they practice from a traditionalistic perspective, the ritual will be the most potent. And that is true, but like I said, up to a certain extent in the broader scope of things. So yeah, if you're someone that practices one of these systems because it just appeals to you, or whatever reason, because it just fits you the best, then sure, no problem. It's not all about power, like I said. I might be a Western ceremonial magician, but it's not all about power. It's about practicing the magical system which aligns best with you. So if you're someone that practices Wicca, for example, or witchcraft, or folk magic, any paganistic kind of magic where you make a heavy use of nature, or where you lay a strong emphasis on nature, then yeah, I would definitely recommend working in this way. To simply wait until the moon is full, unless you have no other choice, or unless you can't wait. Generally speaking, for these kinds of practitioners, it would be best to wait until the moon is full, and your ritual then, for whatever reason you're practicing, you're performing a ritual, your ritual will be the most potent and the strongest, and therefore yield the best results potentially. From a neutral perspective, the moon, for one, deals with all things of an occult or clandestine, so hidden or obscured nature. Aside from that, the moon also deals with daily comings and goings, so daily dealings. From an astrological or astronomical perspective, It also deals with emotions. It deals primarily with the element water. These are all primary attributes of the moon. So if you perform a ritual, it primarily has to be of such a nature. Okay, the moon covers, like all the other planets, the moon covers everything. But the other things, for example, things like money, things like things that the moon doesn't deal with in general, health, physical or mental health or astral health. The moon, if you perform a ritual as someone that practices Wicca or witchcraft, then the moon covers everything. All planets cover everything, but to a lesser extent. That's why all planets have their specialties, and the moon has the specialties that I just listed a couple of minutes ago, or a minute ago, just a second ago. And every other thing can be chunked up or can be chopped up to a lesser extent. So if you perform a ritual, let's just say you perform a ritual and you want your emotions to become stronger, it's a primary attribute of the sun, then generally speaking, you can expect a lot better in terms of results. You can expect much better results whereas if you were to perform a ritual and you were to perform the ritual during full moon, when the moon is at its strongest, if you were to perform a ritual, how should I put this? If you were to perform a ritual with the purpose of love, for example, the moon doesn't specialize in love unless emotions come into play. The moon will then directly alter or manipulate emotions in order to obtain your goal, which is love. But the moon doesn't directly deal with love. Venus deals with that, and the sun deals with romance specifically. So yeah, don't expect tremendous results in things that aren't a primary attribute of the moon, or things to which the moon isn't primarily attributed, or something that isn't directly attributed to the moon. So that's definitely something that you need to keep in mind. For the rest, yeah, so let's just say for magical powers, occult powers, clairvoyance overall, yeah, the moon will do just fine, because the moon is strong in all water signs, elementally speaking, and water signs primarily as an element deal with specifically the water sign Pisces deals with clairvoyance overall. So all things of an occult nature, magic, you name it, everything of an astral nature. The moon is also good, for example, in connecting with other spirits or astral entities. So basically any otherworldly spirit or any otherworldly entity that resides in the astral plane, because the moon, from a Kabbalistic perspective, deals with the astral plane. That's it. That's simply the way the moon is used, okay? From my vantage point, it is a primitive and basic way of working. It's anything but special to me. But again, that doesn't mean that it's not special to one of these practitioners, someone that practices folk magic or something similar. In any case, that's what you need to keep in mind. You can read the article. Although a lot of things that I've said in this video relate to the article, it's pretty much the same thing that I state in the video, but I'd still suggest giving it a read. This video is for people that do not want to read, or specifically people that want to hear it from my mouth directly, information-wise. So in any case, that's how one uses the moon from a witchcraftian or a paganistic or from a naturistic perspective. That's why if you look up lunar rituals, you've got rituals like skyclad. For those of you that don't know what skyclad is, that simply means performing a ritual in the nude, so completely naked. Skyclad refers to simply being clad in the colors of the sky, if you will. And you'll also see a lot of women that are dressed like druids, or that are completely naked and host rituals naked, or half naked at least. All of that's normal, okay? That's obvious too. Why? Because a lot of women primarily, as far as I know, practice these magical systems, and the moon, of course, references to the feminine. So that's also normal. Aside from that, these rituals are druid-like in nature, and it simply dates back to a tradition when people actually used to perform rituals that way, specifically paganistic rituals or paganistic cultures or civilizations. So yeah, You've also have rituals. You've also have a ritual like drawing down the moon. Drawing down the moon is simply another phrase for drawing down the energy of the moon. And the basic concept behind it is that you're naked under a full moon and that you're visualizing all of the energy of the moon seeping into you. Or you even have rituals where similar rituals where a woman that's sky clad, so that's in the nude, allows herself to become possessed by a lunar spirit or a spirit that aligns with the moon or an astral entity. It doesn't have to be the case specifically, but that is the case in general. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are all things. If you look up lunar ritual or similar, you'll find all of those things. But like I said, it really has to appeal to you on a personal level. It doesn't appeal to me personally. But to each his own, of course. In any case, that is it. One last thing that I need to mention too, something that I didn't include in the article. You can find it in the description below, a planetary hours calculator. Aside from simply working with the waning and the waxing moon, arguably, one could also simply work when the moon is at its strongest from a Kabbalistic perspective. And this applies to all planets. That's the way I used to work a year or two ago. Working when any planet is at its strongest. But yeah, for those of you specifically don't want to work with the moon, based on the subject, of course, or on the topic at hand, then yeah, you can simply work when the moon is at its strongest. By default, Kabbalistically speaking, that would be Monday. That's why the Monday is called Monday. It's named after the moon. And of course, it also has a cycle in which the moon rules the first hour of the day, which is at sunrise. And it just goes on from there every 7 hours approximately, but it doesn't matter. That's why I'm going to I'm going to place the link to the planetary hours calculator in the description below, and then you can simply fill in the basic fields, the date, the time, and your location, and it will automatically give you a drop-down column comprising of day and night, in which you can see when the moon rules on that day, when the moon is at its strongest, so basically who the ruler of that day is and who the ruler of the hour is, if you don't intend on working on a Monday, so if it's any other day but Monday. If it's Monday, then you'll automatically see the ruler of the day is the moon, and the ruler of the hour, you'll also want that to be the moon. You could also work with that instead of working with waxing or waning moon, or wait until the moon is at its fullest. The choice is entirely yours, viewer, if you're one of these people that practices this or you intend on picking it up. But now you know in any case what the occult significance of the moon is, specifically working with lunar phases or moon phases. That's it in any case. Thanks for watching. Bye.